Hi, everyone. My name is Gorman Bechard. I'm the executive director of NHdocs, New Haven Documentary Film Festival, and I am also the director of Seniors A Dogumentary, the feature you just watched. And I'm joined by Julia Oldham, who directed Fallout Dogs, which you hopefully also just watched. Welcome, Julia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. First off, I want to say that I loved your film. As the person who programs the festival, obviously I picked your film to be with my film, so I hope hopefully you're getting that as a compliment. I just found it, there's something about it's just so beautiful. So it's like watching a living work of art. I mean, it's just beautiful, and I kind of love that there's so little dialogue in it. And your music, which you did again, I'm like we're scrolling through it again today. It's like, wait, did she have Philip Glass music? And it's like, oh no, she did it. So it, everything just works. So I guess my first question to you is, what drew you to this story, and how did you get access?
Well, I had a few years ago seen a documentary about the way that the Chernobyl exclusion zone has turned into sort of a nature preserve now that it's been 30 some years after the accident, which was in 1986. And this particular documentary was focused on, I think it was a nature documentary. It was focused on uh, packs of wolves living in the zone that are doing really well. There are also moose and wild boar. There are all of these animals that are proliferating and doing really well because there aren't any people there. There's no hunting, there's no building. Um, and so as I was researching that more, I came across the story of the dogs who had originally been the pets of the people who were evacuated. Most of them were shot and killed because they were considered to be contaminated, but some survived. And over the years, packs of dogs have formed throughout the zone. And so I was reading about these dogs and I thought, wow, I really want to tell their story and I really want to meet them. And so I started the process of trying to figure out how one goes to Chernobyl. And the way that you have to do it is you need a government licensed guide to bring you in. And there are actually these Chernobyl tour companies that will bring you there for this sort. I think it's called like dark tourism
Mhm.
these days. And so I got in touch with one of these companies and said, "Hi, I want to do something kind of different. I want to go to Chernobyl and meet all the dogs. Do you happen to know anyone, have a tour guide who would be interested in doing that with me?" And they were like, "We've got the person for you." And as it turned out, Ludmila Yurashko worked for this company. And
Oh,
she had
wow.
just recently quit and was focusing more on working with the dogs. But they got in touch with her for me, and she wanted to work with me on the film. And I mean, she knows every single dog there. And so it was just total serendipity.
Hmm.
So the tour company set up all of um, the sort of bureaucratic bits and pieces for us to get in there, which was great. And I stayed in the zone for 5 days at a little hotel that's right in the town of Chernobyl, which had its own dog pack living right there too.
Now, I mean, was were you ever like worried about contamination? Or I mean, it's like, what is that town like now? I mean, you say there's a hotel, obviously, so.
Right. Yeah. Well, so there are several thousand workers in the zone, and that number changes every year, but there's an ongoing effort to deconstruct, decontaminate. There's so much stuff there. There's a whole graveyard of radioactive trucks and helicopters that were used during the original cleanup and are so contaminated now that no one knew what to do with them. So they're just out in a field. So there's a lot of stuff to deal with. And the reactor itself, when I got there, the new encasing over it had just been built. And so there were a lot of people there working on that. And now that there's a new encasement around it, robots are going to go in and pull everything apart so that the cleanup can be done without, causing lots and lots of people to be sick.
That must have been fascinating, just from for even a dog's aside, just visiting and being able to visit must have been fascinating.
It was really interesting. It was definitely one of the most memorable experiences of my life.
All right, I would keep talking here. That's what I'm sort of used to doing with asking questions. So I'll take a question. How's that?
Okay, super, super. So when I watched Seniors, which I loved so much, I loved the woven storylines of the Old Friend Sanctuary, which, I mean, I've been following them for years on Facebook, so I immediately recognized Leo, of course.
Everyone loves Leo.
Everyone knows
Leo
Leo.
is the rock star.
And Chaser the dog who knows 1,000 words. Izzy the dog in the assisted living home. And I was also really struck by the inclusion of the photographer, Jane Sobel Klonsky, and her amazing project, Unconditional, where she so beautifully photographs dogs and their senior dogs and their owners together and captures that relationship. I loved seeing her photos in the film, and I loved hearing her talk about her process. So I was wondering, how did you discover, choose, and contact the various people and dogs in this film?
Well, after I made A Dog Named Gucci, my first animal film, the one thing I discovered was I would be at film festivals, and even people who worked at a festival says, "Oh, I really want to see your film." I'm great, and it's like, but I can't. I'm like, why? Because I'm gonna cry, or something like that. And it got very frustrating after a while of people just constantly saying, "I really want to see your film, but I can't watch it."
Right.
Despite the fact that there's very little abuse in it. I mean,
Right.
I don't show these horrible pictures. So I remember coming back and saying to my wife, my next animal project, I'm going to make the happy animal rights film. And my wife said, please don't call it that. Oh, no. And I said, oh, no, I'm calling it that. I want everyone to know you're going to watch this film and you're going to grin from ear to ear. You're not even going to see a dog in a cage. It's just going to be dogs and just, so anyway, that's sort of where that came from. And then, of course, I start hearing about Chaser. And I know Chaser is getting up there in years. Now, when I did Gucci, I had interviewed Doug James, Gucci's owner, and timing is everything in life. We always say that. A month after I interviewed him, he had a stroke, and he
Oh my gosh.
couldn't much anymore.
Wow.
So I started looking into Chaser, and I realized John Pilley is not a spring chicken either at this point, and so I contacted them. I sent them a copy of Gucci and went down there and spent a real long weekend shooting him and Chaser. And sure enough, I honestly think within like a month or so after that, he had ended up having some heart surgery.
Gosh.
And yeah, but I mean, he was fine. I went back and shot him again, but I mean, still, it's like at that age, you never, if you want to make a film about someone who's older or an animal that's older, just don't wait, don't hesitate,
Right.
just do it. So. And then it's just like, okay, but this is not a feature. And I usually just do features. I didn't want to do a short. I'm like, I'm like, maybe I just should do something that celebrates senior dogs. And of course came across The Old Friends, which, and I reached out to Michael and Zena, and just as a stroke of luck, they were about to move into Grandpa's Gardens. Grandpa's Gardens. So they said, you want to come down and film it? So I just kept going down there, filming it. And, you fell in love. It's like the happiest place in the world.
It looks like it.
As an extra on the DVD, you remember the total eclipse we had a couple of summers ago?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, I remember booking that. We're going down there to shoot, not thinking anything about an eclipse. And all of a sudden, my hotel rooms in Nashville that are normally $175 are $375. What the hell is going on? I book it anyway. I'm figuring some game, some massive concert, country music hall of fame, whatever. So I get there and it's like, oh, there's a total eclipse in 2 days. Oh, okay. Who knew? I was that was so out of my,
Right.
yeah. But I ended up watching the total eclipse with 110 dogs, which was like the coolest thing. And it was 100%. I mean, so that's an extra on the DVD.
That is
All
amazing.
the dogs and us and the crew just, and it's just a lot of fun.
That's magical.
And then it's like, okay, but how do I link these stories together? And then, of course, I heard about Izzy, and it's like, and then enter Jane. And which, of course, then meant I had to go back to everybody, and Jane had to shoot every animal. In fact, there was one point where I almost cut Izzy because the first time I interviewed Izzy, I didn't have Jane, and that was yet another part. And I said, I love the Izzy story. Jane, you want to make one more trip for this film? And she's like, I'll meet you down there. And sure enough. And yeah, her photos. Well, I mean, I love her. Just like I picked your film to be with my film, I love her photos so much that one shot of my arms around Springsteen's neck, that's my headshot in everything. I mean, if you look at my Facebook profile, you don't see my face. You see Springsteen in my arms. So, right. I mean, I love her photographs. They're beautiful. And I just worked in telling the story together. I mean, she's so passionate and compassionate about seniors and their senior dogs. She just seemed to be the perfect person to tie it all together. And yeah, I'm ultimately very happy at the way it came out. I wasn't sure where this film was going as we're editing it. I'm like, is this telling a story? And it's funny, a lot of people have commented on they like the way I did it, as opposed to just chunks of one person at a time, how it's just a constant roller coaster going back and forth.
Yeah, I loved that.
All right, your turn. Your music. It really is just beautiful and minimal, and it's so worked with the, I don't want to say simplistic form, because I mean it's beautiful, but I mean you sort of just let the dogs tell their story, and you let your shots breathe, which I love. It's not, you're not in a hurry to get somewhere else, and I think that's a beautiful. Tell me about you putting the film together and composing the music and so forth.
Okay. Well, so there's the theme song that moves throughout my film, that plays during Ludmila's segment in the puppies section, the glockenspiel, the kind of childlike glockenspiel piece. That little tune, I make up tunes and songs in my head all the time, and that was one that would sort of play in my head when I was with my old dog Lucius, who's no longer with me. He died in 2013. He was my first dog as an adult, and just, the love of my life. Yeah. And that was his song for some reason. It just happened. And I had for years and years been trying to figure out, well, I'd kind of like to use Lucius's song for something, but I don't know what. And then this film happened, and I thought to myself, well, Lucius's song is going to be the theme here. It's a tune that makes me feel sad, but it's also sweet, I think. And so as I was building the film, when I went to Chernobyl, I was just shooting. I couldn't actually make any plans specifically, because every day different parts of the zone are accessible or inaccessible, and so you kind of can't really specifically request to do certain things there because it's up in the air. And also I just had no idea what to expect, and so I thought, well, I'm just going to go there and let the dogs take me on a tour of Chernobyl. And so I came back with so many hours of footage, and I thought, oh God, what am I going to do now? And I started kind of taking my favorite clips and putting them into categories. And I was composing and making music as I was editing, which is something I always do. rather than doing the soundtrack at the end.
Mhm.
And that helped me to figure out the length of each vignette, and kind of the feeling of it.
Okay.
Uh, so I was making music and editing at the same time, and the making of the music helped me to create the arc of the story.
Complete film geek question, which I remember when I started film festivals 20 years ago. These are always the questions you get, and now no one asks them anymore. So, what camera did you use? What was your go-to camera and lens?
I've got a Panasonic GH4,
Mhm.
and it's a pretty variable lens that I'm forgetting the numbers of right now, but I can zoom pretty far, and I can also work pretty close up. I wanted to bring as little equipment with me as possible. I
Mhm.
didn't bring a tripod because you can't set things on the ground there, because everything is contaminated on the surface. So I brought my little lightweight GH4, and my husband brought a camera too as sort of a backup, and his is also a Panasonic, more of a just for fun camera, but it got some great footage. And I wanted to be super mobile. I wanted to be able to squeeze into little spots and follow the dogs, and so I wanted something little and, not that precious, and super light.
Okay. Okay. Your turn.
All right. So sort of jumping off from that, while making my film in Chernobyl, I realized I had, no control over the behavior of the dogs. And my story, this was sort of happening as I was there. Um, there were a lot of unexpected moments in Seniors too, and I loved when Chaser wanted to play ball with the cinematographer, and the fact that you left some of those little candid bits in, that was so cute and sweet. And I loved the way the cinematographer was trying to talk him into letting her work, like, I really have to work now, but she also couldn't really resist him.
Mhm.
I was wondering, what were some moments while you were filming where things went really differently than you expected them to?
Oh, Chaser is really the Chaser controls the room, or did control the room. Chaser's unfortunately passed. This is the most intimidating dog you will ever meet in your life. I'm not joking. In the film, I say at one point, Dr. Billy says, "Tell me what you want me to do," and Chaser will imitate me. I did go to his ear and whisper, because in my head, Chaser can not only understand my words, could probably read my lips.
Right.
That's how this dog would come to you with a ball, and you play. There was just there was it was if in terms of willpower and who was going to win, Chaser was winning. But and this how brilliant the dog was. So they had said bring a toy. So on the first day we get there, I had brought a toy, and he's one of the toys that he's just shaking. It's this like orange and blue puffy ball with like yarn on it, and I named it Springsteen after my dog. First day, and literally the only thing was, Chaser, this is Springsteen. I threw it on the floor. We're going to leave now, 3+ days later. I'm grabbing a light from the upstairs, and I see the ball on the floor, and I go back downstairs. Chaser's sitting there. I said, Chaser, get Springsteen. Chaser walks around, goes up the stairs, comes right back down with that ball in his mouth.
Oh my gosh.
I can't remember someone's name usually after 10 minutes.
Right.
This is 3 days later, one time, and this dog remembers the name of this ball. And when there are 10,000, no, 1,000 toys that he already knows. So, the Chaser was always surprising. Um, and in terms of old friends, I mean, I think what's surprising there is you know we meet a lot of people in the animal welfare world, and a lot of them seem to have their own agenda. It's like I sometimes it drives me crazy when, even though you have three groups all wanting the same thing, none of these groups can work together. There's like a lot of ego butting of
Mm.
heads in this world. How I really loved how sincere and devoted Michael and Xena were. I mean, they pretty much, I mean, they had really good careers, like crazy careers, and they dropped everything and started taking care of senior dogs. Think about that. That's like, and also think about, okay, how old was your dog when he or she passed? He passed.
12.
Well, I've had all of my dogs have, unfortunately, bigger dogs. They've all died in their 12th year. It's sometimes the last year or so is not easy, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now imagine that times 115.
Oh, I know. It's incredible.
It really is incredible. And I think that just the absolute love and that they give to these dogs is amazing. I mean, you don't meet people like them all the time. I think everyone involved in this film was just a joy to me. It makes you believe. I mean, when we're seeing all this crap with politics and so forth that's going on in the world right now, and the mess that we're all in, to meet people that are just genuine and sincere and just good people. That is, I mean, that's almost, I hate to say it, it's sad to say that that's surprising nowadays, but it almost is, because of what we're bombarded with.
Right.
I also think I'm going to go on my music. Like, I remember Dean Falcone does all of my music, one of my best friends. And I said to him, I want this to be happy. And he came to me like a day later and goes, I'm going to record and play every single thing in this film on toy instruments. And he did.
I loved that so much.
I mean, you're talking like little pianos like this, slide, those old slide whistles. That there is not one note, even the drum kit. It's like he brought in his drummer, and the drum kit is this like little thing on the ground, and this 6 foot tall guy with knees all over the place is playing this little drum kit.
That's amazing.
I wish we had filmed that. That's like the only thing I didn't film that I really wish we filmed, because that would have been a brilliant extra on the DVD. But and that and Dean is someone that I just trust. I mean, I rarely go back and say, can you just change this or that? I mean, it's usually 90% what he gives me is what ends up in the film, and I think he just did a beautiful job. It just really fit the tone of the film.
I loved it, and as someone who has a big pile of toy instruments, I felt like, hey, I know just what that is. This is so cute and great. And I had a question about your soundtracks, which you just answered. But I watched A Dog Named Gucci, and your soundtrack for that film is so heartbreaking. And that beautiful version of One Voice at the end.
That's all Dean.
Oh, so. I was sobbing.
Well, I hate saying it. It's like, yes, you do cry, but it's like, I did sort of build the film so that like you're going, hey, I'm okay. I'm really okay. And then we get to the Rottweiler and the man who looks like he could be an extra from The Sopranos, and who is so macho, but yet when he breaks down,
yes.
Pretty much the floodgates always open. And of course, at the end, the Pac AD song with all of the dogs who died going faster and faster.
Oh God!
I definitely edited it for that reason. And the funny thing is, it works. We show it every once in a while to legislatures and people like that regarding animal laws. And every time we get to that Pac AD song, I find myself bawling, and it's just like, come on. It's like, how many times? I've seen this way too many times. I edit the stuff, and I remember bawling in it's the sound mix. Matt Gundy, who has mixed every film of mine since 2004, so that's like 11 features. He's brilliant, and that thumping that he put in just like hits you here.
Very powerful and very cathartic. Like as that film ended, I needed to cry a bunch. I needed to like ugly cry, racking sobs. And the film really, as you were saying, it really moves the viewer into that moment of but it's good too. It felt good.
Well, good. Thank you. Well, and
Even
you understand how different Seniors is from that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, which was definitely the goal. And one voice is stunning, but my God, it took forever. 15 months to
Oh,
get the song together.
oh wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Because everyone kept saying, "Where's the film?" And I'm like, "Well, we're just waiting on something. It's gonna be worth it." And oh my God, it took so long. But I mean, it's
It
beautiful.
was
There's
worth
so many
it.
cool people in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. What a lineup!
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I was really happy with that, you know. And it's funny because that was sort of recorded. It almost like was recorded as people are recording today, where we would just send files back and forth because everyone was all over
Wow.
the place. So
Right.
so that ended up that yeah. When I think about it, it was a COVID recording, 5 years beforehand.
Right.
Um, one of the Valentina and Dana is just great. And it's funny because it's so reminding me of the little yapping dog that I have from old friends, and mine who just like sounds like a bird, and it's funny, that was just a video I found online from old friends, and I'm like, I have to put this in because it cracks me up every time I see it. But where did you find Valentina? I mean, she's such a like wonderful, adorable character, and it's just a really light, beautiful break.
Yeah. Well, so my connection to Valentina was through Ludmila, my guide. She, as just out of the goodness of her heart, um, buys medications for the dogs, including a tick preventative, because there's a hemorrhagic uh, disease that the dogs can catch from ticks there that will kill them really quickly.
Oh my God.
It's really awful. And so she gets all of these tick treatments and goes around and treats every single dog there, not only the strays, but also the self-settlers dogs. And so she got to know Valentina because she would go and give Donna the tick treatment, among other things. So she got to know a lot of the self-settlers because she would help them to care for their dogs. She comes in as kind of a veterinarian, that does basic things. So she had gotten to know Valentina over the years. And as Ludmila and I beforehand were brainstorming a little bit about what we would do to the extent that we could plan, she said, well, I've got something very special for you. And that's a lady who has a dog that does musical performances with her. And I was like, yes, please. And it was wonderful meeting Valentina. She didn't speak any English, so and I don't speak Ukrainian, so it was entirely a translation situation with Ludmila there, which is so difficult. It's hard to have a real conversation that way, but I did get to know a little bit about her and her experience there. I mean, she's been there for ages. Her husband died about 8 years ago, I think, and her daughter comes to visit her. But she came back to the zone shortly after the evacuation. There were a lot of older people that were like, I can't just start over. So they said, well, geez, we're just gonna do it. And it was illegal, but they did it anyway. And initially there were thousands of self-settlers, and now there are a few hundred because they're getting pretty old now. um she As soon as we got to her house, she brought out this huge spread of snacks. And she poured us all vodka. And that lady knows how to pour vodka. She put 4 glasses out and was just like, didn't spill a drop. All 4 glasses were filled to the brim. It was amazing. It was fun getting to have this little cultural experience of being in someone's home there, you know? And she was just wonderful and so generous. And And the clip of her and Donna in the film is a tiny fraction of what she played.
Okay.
I've got lots of, I keep thinking about doing an extended Valentina and Donna segment.
It might be just one of those things that would do great on YouTube and get you
Yeah,
more attention for the film.
that's what I was thinking too. That would be
'Cause, I mean,
fun.
it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. How did you get funding for this?
Oh, well, I applied for a grant through the Oregon Arts Commission and the Northwest Film Festival here collaborate to create a media art fellowship,
Hmm.
which I was able to get for this project, which was awesome because it was definitely some money had to go into the travel part
I
of
was
it
thinking
and
that
the
travel was probably one of your biggest expenses.
yeah, it was really the main thing. And so thankfully I did have a grant to support that project. Thank goodness.
Your turn.
Okay. Um, so we were talking a little bit about Gucci, and I mean that film is really, really heartrending. But there's moments in Seniors that hurt too. But I mean they're sweet, more like a sweet. I cried a lot through Seniors too, but it was different. But what I wanted to ask was, as a dog lover, how do you process some of the more painful or just I'm going to cry immediately moments making films about dogs?
I cry. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember in Gucci when me and my sound person was a young woman named Taryn, and we were shooting uh, The Man Who Owned the Rottweiler, and I'm completely not forgetting his wife was Liz. I can't think what his name was, but if you heard the actual audio after he stops talking, when he's crying and he stops talking, we are sobbing behind the cameras, just sobbing, so, but I'm a big believer in breathing, so I just held on him, thankfully, and Matt Gundy took care of our sobbing, got rid of that, and just
Yeah.
the room tone, and we were all good. Oh no, and I mean, there are definitely moments that just uh, I am a complete dog fanatic. I mean, we never had kids, we've always had dogs. Springsteen, as I say in the film, is getting older, and I mean, even now it's like watching him. We have 3 floors, and he tried to come up into the attic here where I am right now yesterday, and it was just like, okay, he really cannot come up those little stairs anymore.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'll just cry and let it out. I mean, my God, I remember when we were filming John Pilley and Chaser with Jane, and Jane shooting them, and I said, Jane, just hold back. And all of a sudden, the two of them just start walking up that hill together. And I said to Jane, it's like, there's the ending of the movie. And I remember I just called my wife and told her about it, and she started crying with not even seeing it, just from
Right.
hearing about what's in the script. But I mean, you know how you just get those shots, and it's just like, I know exactly where that's going.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that for me, the sadder parts of the film were the dogs you'd meet who then passed. Like, I was in Nashville on vacation, and while I was there, Leo passed. Which was really, really sad. And we had just been the day before to Oldham.
Oh yeah.
Hearing John Pilley died and then Chaser died. Those were the sadder moments for me. Is getting to know these people and these dogs, and then we lose them. So that for me is probably. But it's like, oh no, I'll cry all the time in front of the. That's when I know if I'm crying and I've seen all this footage, I know it's working.
Yeah, there's such poignancy. I mean, and like I was saying in Seniors, even though there isn't the like the like knife in your heart type of hurt.
Hmm.
It's like so sweet that I think I never stopped crying. Actually, I was just like, this is adorable, you know.
I did,
And
I did send
when
Michael crying for the till the
oh,
end, and he he
that
bust
was
he so bust my ass about that. I said, Michael, it's like it's a great moment. It's like
it's so beautiful.
yeah, because he's crying because he's crying about how much he loves his wife and how much he about what she's doing. But as I said, I'm so impressed with these two. It's just it's
They're
they're amazing.
amazing.
Yeah, they truly are. I mean, and I think it's sometimes it's like these little, and they're not little because I mean they have so many followers, but by comparison to the big animal rights corporations, I
Right.
feel these little people do so much better work, because it's concentrated. It's not just spread out. We just got to change a law and that's it. It's like
Right.
they're actually they're helping dogs that that you can reach out and touch and see, and it's just so much more personal.
That makes and donated money goes immediately. There isn't all of the like promotional material that has to be paid for. It's
Right.
it's just it's super immediate. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm gonna say we're gonna, I think, start wrapping this up.
Okay.
But I was gonna say, so if someone wants to see this film beyond, like a friend says, hey, oh my God, you had to have seen this film, but now the festival's over, where can they see your film, or where is it going to be playing?
Well, I've I don't have anything set up coming up right yet,
Okay.
in terms of festivals or exhibitions. So that is sort of TBA.
Hmm.
But at some point, I well, like I want to release a little bit more of Valentina and Donna's footage, and I I'm gonna figure out some other ways for the film to be seen, but it's still up in the air at the moment.
All right, and you have a website you can promote?
Uh-huh, yeah. And it's just juliaoldham.com. The trailer is right on the website, so you can, and a lot of photographs. You can learn a lot more about the film there. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, I think that a film like this, even just the free streaming platform on Amazon, that you would probably do really well. I think that because there's so many dog lovers that once people started talking about it and you generated reviews, that you would get people to like go and watch it.
That's a great idea. I will start looking into that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, or after the festival's over, if you need me to put you in touch with some people or something, just let me know, because I really do love the film, and I think
Thank you.
it's and I know that marketing short films is always difficult because yeah, but
Right. It's tricky.
yeah, because of the length and so on. But I do think you could probably find a home for it in a place like that, which would be a decent place for it.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds
Um,
great.
and what's next for you?
Well, so in addition to making short films and animations, I also draw and I make graphic novels. And right now I'm making a graphic novel called Woodrow's Story that is about my senior Pomeranian who I volunteer at a shelter,
Mhm.
and this little Pomeranian came in that was on his last leg, and I really thought that he was going to die within days. He was so sick. And I said, I really want to bring this guy home. It's going to be a hospice situation, I know. A year and a half later, he's still with us. And so I'm making a graphic novel about the process of bringing him home and getting him better, which was a pretty serious process. So doing a lot of drawings of Woodrow, that's his name. And I'm getting close to finishing most of the drawing for it, I think. So I'm going to start piecing things together and thinking about publication.
Gotcha. Any last questions you want to ask me?
Yeah. So Why do you think humans love dogs so much? What do you think is at the heart of our relationship with them?
That dogs give us the one thing we're all looking for, which is that unconditional love. That dogs don't judge us. I mean, you can get up and skip your shower and, throw on last night's clothes and just want to sit there all day and whatever, and the dog will be up for whatever. Yeah, it's the perfect relationship, and
Yeah.
um, and I don't know. It really is. It's like this. To me, like in our house, when we are on vacation and the dogs are at the kennel, um, I hate that one night coming home. It's always just like there's no sound. The house is just
Oh,
dead. You know.
yeah. It's
Um,
the worst.
yeah, and I think that they make us better people. I mean, I think that they make us look at ourselves. They teach us empathy. They teach us love. They teach us compassion. Um, they teach us that sometimes it's just okay to like roll in the grass and crap, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Just it's sort of like there's just freedom of being a dog, and you'll watch them, and it's like and you'll see the dogs like rolling the grass on their back, and it's just like sometimes you wish maybe if we could only do that in our own
Right.
human way. There's also dogs don't look at other dogs and say, well, I'm not going to like that dog because it's a black dog or a white
Right.
dog.
Right.
They're colorblind in that respect. There's no prejudice. There's no, yeah, they're kind of like the perfect creatures. And I think they're a lot smarter than most of us. Chaser proved that than most of
Oh
us.
my gosh.
Yeah. Than most of us give them credit for. I mean, yeah, I mean, I always say that if dogs were running the world right now, we would probably be in a much better place.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers it. It's just, I mean, but there is, I can't think of a creature on Earth that is more perfect. And I'll put dogs over humans. You know,
I feel the same way.
one of my favorite T-shirts is dogs because humans suck, and that's basically it in a nutshell. Not every human. Then you go back and you have Michael and Xena, and you have Jane and Dr. Pilly, but you know we look
Right.
around nowadays, and you question. Sometimes it's embarrassing to be a member of the human race. you
Yes.
know? So, but I hope that answered that. Anyway, I want to thank you. First off, thank you for allowing us to show your film. Thank you for allowing me to take the geo blocking off so I could show it with seniors, and hopefully it'll get a really nice wide audience.
Oh, it's an honor.
And I good luck with it. It's a beautiful film, and you should be really proud.
Well, thank you so much, Gorman. And this has been a great, fun conversation. It was so nice to hear more about seniors and how you made it.
Thank you for asking the questions. And once again, guys, I'm Gorman Bechard, Executive Director of NHdocs. Thank you for watching this. Go watch some other movies.